Hey everybody, I'm David with Bolivar Live. For the last week or so, I've been talking about doing classes on Bolivar Peninsula because the kids are out of school, they're stuck at the house, and I know some parents are going crazy, so I'm going to help you out, make it fun. Welcome to Class 101 with Bolivar Live. Today it's history and it's Fort Travis. Listen in, class has already begun. Here's a layout of Fort Travis and where all the bunkers were, the lodging, the offices and everything. And we're going to go back to this in a little bit and talk about each battery. But I wanted to give you a little look at the layout, because while I read this next, sort of the history and an overview of Fort Travis, when it was started, why it was there, this will give you a little idea of what you're looking at, because we're going to show you a bird's eye view from above on a drone flight that we did, and you can see everything that it offers and the area. Bolivar Peninsula has a long military fortification history. As early as 1814, the peninsula became the center of filibustering strategies and encampments. And in fact, a Mexican manuscript from 1816, the map shows several encampments on the Gulf side of Bolivar Peninsula in a grove of trees by Fort Travis. But the real Texas history is here. In 1818, Dr. James Long and his wife Jane and approximately 300 troops came to Texas to liberate the Spanish. He established his base of operations at La Casa at Bolivar in August of 1819. Dr. Long and his troops continued into Texas, leaving Mrs. Long, one of her children, and one servant at the fort. During the winter of 1820 to 21, Mrs. Long gave birth to the first white child born in Texas, a girl. Mrs. Long remained at the fort until 1822, when she received notification that Dr. Long had been killed. During the Civil War, Fort Salousky on the bay side of Port Bolivar was established as a Confederate fortification. Federal troops took control of the fort in the peninsula in November of 1862. On April 8th of 1898, the federal development of the port of Galveston, Fort Travis, was constructed on the current site of Bolivar Point. It was named in honor of William B. Travis, hero of the Alamo. The fort was completed in 1899. Fort Travis sustained heavy damage from the 1900 storm. Repairs were well underway by 1903 to include the present seawall around the fort. During World War I, Fort Travis was used as a garrison for troops defending the Galveston coastal waters and the vital port of Galveston. The first public Galveston-Bolivar ferry was opened in 1903. The Rudolph Ernest Battery was the docking site on the Bolivar side. Records indicate that it was no longer used as a ferry landing by the 1950s. In 1942, Fort Travis was enlarged and some 2,500 troops were stationed at the fort to provide coastal defense for the area. With the ending of World War II, coastal defenses were no longer needed, and Fort Travis was declared surplus property and sold in 1949. The 60-acre park was acquired through a Moody Foundation grant for $200,000 in March of 1976, and in December of 1975, Galveston County Beach Park Board received notification of approval of an acquisition development grant from the National Park Service to develop Fort Travis Seashore Park. Now we're going to take a look around the park. I've done several videos out there, and we've also got a 3D walkthrough, so stay tuned. But let's hear a word from today's sponsor. Need groceries, fishing, or camping supplies? Looking for the perfect coastal clothing? Shop the Big Store, our Bolivar Peninsula Superstore. If the big store doesn't have it, chances are you really don't need it. Visit thebigstore.us. Now let's go back to the map, and we're going to talk about each battery, and I'm going to show you some pictures that I have, and we're going to talk about the rest of the park too. So let's start off with the Battery Davis. Battery Davis, built in 1898. This battery was named for Lieutenant Thomas Davis of the United States Mounted Rifles, who was killed in the Mexican War in 1847. It contained two 8-inch breech-loading guns of the disappearing type. These guns were the most advanced of their day. They could be elevated higher than comparable naval weapons, thus outranging them. The structure is reinforced concrete, which was originally built on a series of wood pilings in the sand. The seawall was not built around it until 1903. Because Battery Davis is in an advanced state of deterioration, its gallery collapsed some years ago, and visitors are no longer permitted to enter. Well, not only is it cool history, but look at that view overlooking Galveston Bay and the Houston Ship Channel. Now, some of these pictures will have vehicles in it, and these are park vehicles where they're doing some work. There is no driving on the grass or around in the park other than on the roads, but I tell you what, you can see from the brick and the concrete, it's easy to get around. Let's go to the next battery. Well, the next battery is Battery Ernest. Let's see what kind of history he holds, so listen in. Battery Ernest, this battery was built in 1898, named after Second Lieutenant Rudolph Ernest, United States 6th Infantry, who was killed in the Mexican War in 1847. It contained 3 small-caliber rapid-fire pedestal guns with searchlights and case-minted ammunition magazines below. Its purpose was to defend the harbor entrance against torpedo boats and raiding parties in smaller boats. The date of abandonment is unknown, but the military usefulness of such a battery would have ended well before World War II. As you can see from the location at the top of the picture there, Ernest Battery was on the far southwest corner, and so the view from there is unbelievable. Make sure you take the walk and read the plaques around each one of these batteries. Next up is the Kimball Battery. Well, as you can see from above, the Kimball Battery probably has the biggest footprint of them all, but let's see what was inside. Construction on this battery, the Kimball Battery, began in August of 1917 and was completed in April of 1922. It was named for Major Edwin R. Kimball of Galveston, who died in 1918 during World War I. Its 12-inch guns could be elevated to gain a range of 17 miles, which was more than twice the range of guns at the Battery Davis. Shortly after the end of World War II, the battery was made vulnerable by advance of accurate aerial bombings. The circular gun platforms provided a perfect aiming point. Battery Kimball was then abandoned, and its guns sold for scrap. It's one of more than a dozen similar batteries in the United States and on an island in the Philippines, and may be the only surviving example of its kind. As you can see, the Kimball Battery's got a big footprint, and you'll notice it when you come in the front gate just off to your left. It's easy access for those that have a hard time getting around, so make sure you stop by and see the Kimball Battery. Well, the last but not least, and we've got a 3D view we're going to show you of this one, is Battery 236. Battery 236. By 1941, the Coastal Artillery no longer named its smaller installations. They were simply designated by their construction numbers. Battery 236 contained 2 long-range 6-inch guns connected by an earth and concrete casement, which contained a power plant, magazines, fire control facilities, and crew quarters. This battery was designated primarily to defend the approaches to Galveston Harbor from mine layers and submarines, which had to surface in order to lay mines. Ironically, by the time the battery was completed, almost all mine laying was done by aircraft, making the battery obsolete. So soon as it was built, it was abandoned shortly after the end of World War II. Well, we've walked around and talked about the battery and looked at the outside. Let's go inside and we're going to show you how you can take a 3D walkthrough Battery 236. Now, there's a link in the write-up of this post, and there's several links, but this link is labeled Fort Travis. And when the page comes up, you're going to see this is what you're going to be looking at. And if you see the blue button where it says Take a Tour, click on it, and it's going to take you inside Battery 236 so you can walk through it and walk through history as if you're there. Now, it's easy. It's always up. And so you can go back to this, but we're going to show you what happens here. You'll notice there'll be some white dots on the floor. Each one of those dots or circles is where we had the camera placed. And once you do it, you can tap on the wall, hold down your mouse, and spin around and get a 3D view from side to side and up and down. You can walk through this entire battery as if you were there and never leave the comfort of your home. Now you can go up and down the stairs and in each room. Now in each room there's labels on the wall that'll show you exactly what that room was used for when the battery was in operation. The rooms have been cleaned up and Galveston County's put lights in them, and every once in a while we get to open these batteries so that you can walk through them. But you're taking a walk in history as you do this, and I hope you'll go through the whole battery because it'll take you a little bit of time, but you're going to see history as it was back when the battery was in operation. Remember, in order to walk through Battery 236 as if you were there, just click the link in our write-up here and you'll be able to go directly to the page and walk through it anytime. We hope you take the time because it's a neat way to see history. As you can see from the above view, the Coastal One view from our drone, Fort Travis is wide open. The county does a great job, and all the little concrete pads that you see out in the middle of the grass are also labeled. Those were buildings whenever Fort Travis was in operation. So take the time and walk through the whole fort. They have plaques. They also have stands up by each bunker where it talks about what the bunker did, how long it was there when it was built, and more information on the history that Fort Travis has. Now, history is not the only thing that Fort Travis is great for. They also have facilities there, playgrounds, and more, along with covered picnic tables, and the park's open every day of the year from about 7 o'clock in the morning, so you can always find time to go by there. One thing about Fort Travis is not only is the view over the Houston Ship Channel and Galveston Bay during daylight hours, but the sunrise from Fort Travis and the sunset from Fort Travis is unbelievable. So if you love taking photos, it's a great way to get a great sunset shot. Now also, another piece of history, and it's probably going to be our next class, is the Bolivar Lighthouse. You can also get a great sunset view picture from Fort Travis. We're going to head on out. We hope you enjoyed today's class. We're going to be back tomorrow or the next day with another one, and this next class will be on the Bolivar Lighthouse, where an actual movie was filmed there. Well, until next time, and another class on history, biology, math, and more with Bolivar Live, y'all have a great day, great week. Come see us. God bless, and bye-bye.